I know you guys are wondering, can Stockton's finest Nate Diaz even beat Khamzat Chimeev? Well, today I'm going to be breaking that down for you. We're going to be starting this with me breaking down the top 3 featured bouts of the night. First, we're going to be starting off with Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, 23-7, Kevin Holland 16-2. Records are deceiving in the UFC. It's not boxing. Not everyone's going to be undefeated. You're fighting the best of the best in the game. Kevin Holland, former 185er. Daniel Rodriguez, been at 170 his whole UFC career. A big thing with this fight is Kevin Holland's reach advantage. 81-inch reach for a guy at 170. That's insane. He uses his range well, but in certain times he lunges in, throws hooks, and likes to bang. That's why people love him. He's an action fighter. Daniel Rodriguez is very technical with his punches. Like, he throws a lot of straight shots, but he is not afraid to welcome a brawl. Not afraid at all. He has power in his hands. That's actually interesting enough. He was ranked number 15 before his injury, and they took him out because he was going to be inactive for a year. As we can see, Kevin Holland is a way more of a finisher, proven finisher, even though the stats very deceiving because Daniel Rodriguez does have power in his hands. He's proved it against Tim Means. But Kevin Holland is a more proven finisher in the UFC. He's finished Jacare Souza, which is insane if you guys know who Jacare is and what he's done for the sport. He's knocked out Joaquin Buckley, who's we've seen has had the knockout of the year, and he's, tough as nails as we saw on UFC Paris. Kevin Holland's fought Marvin Vettori, Derek Brunson, some of the elite of the elite. And also what's important to know about this fight is they both took it on short notice. Now, these guys are not afraid of taking fights on short notice. Daniel Rodriguez's best performance, in my opinion, was when he fought Kevin Lee on 2 weeks notice and adjusted from losing round 1, played a great fight round 2 and 3, all him, the best he's ever looked. And Kevin Holland is notorious for taking, willing to take short notice fights. After losing to Derek Brunson, he took the Marvin Vettori fight on 1 week's notice. On main event, went all 5 rounds. These guys are not afraid of taking short notice fights and giving it their all. That's why the UFC put them on this card. Now, this is a big part of their stats that is very important. Daniel Rodriguez's outputs double as much as Kevin Holland, but he also absorbs twice as much. Kevin Holland's a skinny guy, but he has proven power in the UFC. He knocks out guys from the bottom. You do not want to be getting hit this much by Kevin Holland. Now, Kevin Holland is not some output machine. He's an action fighter, but he's not like Max Holloway throwing 1,000 punches. He does picks his shots well, and that's what makes it so interesting. Because if Daniel Rodriguez goes in and just tries to output strike Kevin Holland, he could get countered off a lot of these strikes and get seriously hurt. So it's a great styles clash because they are both action fighters, but both in different ways. Now, these odds are very interesting. I think it's fair because of Daniel Rodriguez's inactivity. Even though I personally think Kevin Holland will win this fight, this is a very good dog pick for Daniel Rodriguez because he is more tested at 170. He is very dangerous and you cannot overlook him. He has very underrated angle changes. Very underrated. He throws a combination and he moves just out the way. He has very good kickboxing and very good hands, and is a very big dog of the night and potentially can cause an upset. My one last breakdown of this fight is I'm very curious who will take center of the cage first and who will dictate the pace of this fight, because both have been notorious in their fights to be backed up against the cage and they're okay with it. But if I'm Daniel Rodriguez, I'm pushing the pace. I'm getting rid of Kevin Holland's 7-inch reach advantage on me. I'm clinching him against the cage, throwing strikes, just mixing it up, maybe shoot for a takedown just to get him thinking about something. If Kevin Holland takes center of the cage and uses his jab and keeps his distance, fights a smart fight, tags him up, picks his shots correctly, I can see him getting this done. So that's what I'm just very curious about. Is I feel like we're going to know who's winning this fight in the first 3 minutes. We're gonna see who's pushing their fight and who can keep fighting their fight. So my final pick, as you already know, is Kevin Holland, but it is a close fight and can go either way. Now, next on the list, we have Tony Ferguson versus Jingliang. I don't want to mispronounce his name. This fight can either make a lot of MMA fans happy or break a lot of their hearts. So a lot of people see, Tony is 38 years old, just got knocked out. viciously by Michael Chandler. This fight is actually a really good matchmaking from the UFC because this is a good benchmark of where we see Tony going for the rest of his career. This is a really big make or break fight for him. If he doesn't win this fight, then after that, I don't know. I think the UFC, you know, Tony Ferguson is a gem to the company. They'll probably let him fight out his contract, but this is a big turning point in his career because you guys forget, Tony is only fighting top guys. His last 4 fights alone was Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush, Michael Chandler. These guys are all top 5 of the new generation of the UFC lightweight division, and he's 38 years old. Father Time is every MMA any fighter's worst enemy, especially in these lower weight divisions. And anybody that ate that front kick, even Jingliang, would have went to sleep. Even prime Tony Ferguson, you're not eating that front kick and staying awake. It's just not possible. It's not possible. The only thing with this fight that has me concerned is I wish Tony had a bit more time to recover. The fact that he got knocked out by Michael Chandler and he's cleared to fight before Michael Chandler even supposedly fights Dustin Poirier in November is crazy to me. But here we are. He's moving up, which is a great idea at this point of his career because there's no future at 155. He got beat by all the top 5. 170, he can make a run because he's moving up. His chin will be better not cutting a lot of weight because Tony is big for 155. He can beat some of these guys, especially Jingliang. I think this is a perfect matchup. The odds are, I'm pretty sure, like -225 for Leach and then, you know, plus whatever for Tony. Leach is a substantial favorite. Looking at their stats, they are very similar in height. The reach, surprisingly, Tony has a longer reach than Jingliang. Tony's an awkward fighter, but he does know how to use his distance. This reach advantage can help him, especially if he does not want to get hit as much before, because he is going to be worrying about his chin after the Michael Chandler knockout. Now, we know Tony Ferguson is a wild man, and he is down to go to war. He's down for it all for the fans. The first round of his fight with Michael Chandler, it started off very well. A lot of people think like, oh my god, old Tony Ferguson is back. It started off very well. He caught Michael Chandler off balance, dropped him, but he did get double-legged and controlled for like 2.5 minutes. Now, I really doubt that Jingliang is going to shoot for takedowns. This is going to be a complete stand-up affair, which is why I think it's perfect to see where Tony is at right now. This is his chance. He doesn't have to worry about wrestling. Jingliang isn't some sort of crazy output. He doesn't throw 8 strikes per minute. They're very similar in stats, which is hilarious to me. They absorb the same amount of shots per minute, literally the equal amount of defense, very close to significant strikes percentage, and close and landed per minute. Tony by like 1 more. I personally would like to see Tony mix it up, not go to war against a power puncher like Jingliang, because don't get me wrong, Jingliang is a power puncher, but he is 50-50. Against prospects, he's doing very well, up and comers, but when he reaches the top of the division, he struggles. Tony Ferguson has only fought the top of the lightweight division, and he's beaten some people that have moved up to 170. Like RDA, he fought for an interim title on 170 and he beat him. The thing that's very important about this fight, Tony Ferguson has a new team at Jackson Wink MMA, which just trained Holly Holm, Michelle Watterson, John Jones. They are a great gym, and he just got there I think a few weeks ago. But having new coaches, we're gonna see how well he responds to his new coaches and how well they game plan him for this fight. But the thing with Jingliang is he's very dangerous. You slip up with him, you go to sleep. Perfect example is Santiago Ponzinibbio. He came back after a layoff and everyone was like, oh, like, you know, he's back. This is a great warm-up fight for him. And boom, the Leech knocked him out cold. Counter punch. Once Santiago made a mistake, it was done. Tony is not a stranger to getting hit, but neither is the Leech. This is why this makes this matchup so interesting. If I had to put my money on a winner, just because of momentum, I would say the Leech, but do not be surprised if Tony puts on a decent performance and pulls off the win, because he can win. He knows how to win, and at this point in his career, I think he knows he needs to win. It's great. We're gonna see how Tony comes back from a knockout, one of the most vicious knockouts of the year, and we're gonna see where he's at. But the real winners of this fight are the fans. I think it's gonna be a great fight. Now, for the question you all want answered, can Nate Diaz beat Khamzat Chimeev? Let's be honest. Khamzat, he's a machine. We all know he's talented. First 4 fights in the UFC, he got punched twice. Now, once he stepped up in competition, he fought Gilbert Burns, and they had a war, and he's like absorbed like 112 strikes. He has a big size advantage. They are similar in height and reach. Khamzat fought at 185 and would look bigger than some 185ers, and he cuts a lot of weight to 170, where Nate really probably walks around like 175 and cuts down. There's a reason Khamzat is a minus 1050 favorite, but in MMA, I don't think anybody, and I mean anybody, I don't care who you are, be a minus 1050 favorite. And I know Nate is 21-13, Khamzat's 11-0. From like the casual perspective, you're like, bro, what is this? But MMA is probably one of the most unpredictable sports. Nate almost finished our welterweight champion Leon Edwards in the final minute of their fight, where Leon was just beating the crap out of him for 24 minutes. If he wasn't taunting, he probably could have finished him. So you're telling me in this sport where crazier things have happened, Khamzat should be a minus 1000 favorite? I see why they're doing it, but just me personally, I just think it's crazy that in this sport anybody could be that high of a favorite. Don't get me wrong, Nate has a lot of disadvantages, but he does have some proven advantages that are still questions that we need answered from Khamzat. Biggest unanswered questions is his cardio. And you know who does have good cardio and uses it as a weapon? Nate Diaz. Khamzat fought a war with Gilbert, don't get me wrong, for 15 minutes, and that takes a lot out of you. And Khamzat throws a lot of output. But for 5 rounds, can he sustain it? Especially after recovering from COVID, we've never seen him go. He's never been 25 minutes in his career. That was the first time he's ever been 15 minutes against Gilbert. So we're really going to see how he can handle a 25-minute fight, especially against a guy that will eat your best shots and just keep coming forward like a zombie. From personal experience, I know from sparring, very discouraging when you hit someone with your hardest shot and they're just eat that and they keep going. It's like one of the most discouraging feelings, because you know you inside you put your heart into it and they just ate it and they're still coming forward. And I was looking at some of the odds of this fight, and like Khamzat to like has like a favorite to win by like finish, which is crazy because Nate Diaz has only been finished in the UFC by Josh Thompson and a doctor stoppage against Jorge Masvidal for a cut. Like, he's not like he gets finished. And the Josh Thompson fight was 2013, almost 10 years ago. So we've talked about 2 of Nate's biggest weapons are his toughness and his cardio. His striking isn't a slouch either. He has good striking. Khamzat isn't some Floyd Mayweather of MMA. He has sneaky uppercuts and has good jabs and knows how to use it, but his main attribute is his wrestling. To be honest, all the pressure of this fight is on Khamzat, not Nate. Nate is a plus 700 dog. He's supposed to get slaughtered, you know, like he's like the sacrificial lamb. It's hard to look good against Nate Diaz, especially as of recently. He beat Anthony Pettis coming off knocking out Stephen Thompson. So this all depends on Khamzat's game plan, because if he tries to make this a striking affair, I think it's unnecessary because you're evening the odds of the fight. I get you want to put a fight for the fans, but he also wants to look impressive. Any clip of Nate looking good is going to be used against Khamzat. But I don't think Khamzat is going to risk making this a war. If I'm Khamzat, I'm beating Nate as definitively as possible while also not making it a boring fight. Now, do I think Nate will get finished? I don't think so. Nate has taken some beatings, he's been in some wars, and he still does not get out of there. Most of his losses are decisions. He's only fought top guys. Fighting a guy like Khamzat is nothing new to him. He's fought the best of the best. Khamzat is a lot of new territory. We're gonna find out. Can he go 25 minutes? Can he look good against a guy like Nate Diaz? Can he be a champion? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered after the Gilbert fight. If I had to put my money on a pick for this fight, which is there's really good odds right now, is Khamzat by decision. But he finishes all these guys. These guys are not Nate Diaz. This guy has insane toughness. It's one of his biggest weapons. And Khamzat by decision is like plus 600. You should risk like $10 on that, $5 on that. That's a very big possibility to be at plus 600 is crazy to me. Me personally, I think Khamzat's gonna win by decision, put on a performance. Nate might have his little moments here and there, but I personally will put my money on Khamzat by decision. I don't think he's gonna finish Nate Diaz. So that's my breakdown of this whole UFC 279 card. Leave me down in the comments below who you think is going to win the main event of UFC 279, or even the undercard. Tony, Kevin Holland, Dana Rodriguez, Lee Jingliang. Let me know all in the comments. Also, tell me any suggestions on videos you'd like to see. I'm gonna be covering MMA, traditional boxing, a lot of YouTube boxing. And also let me know in comments below what I need to improve upon on these videos. I'm not perfect. I haven't done YouTube in a long time. I want to move up. I want to get better and better. We're gonna keep moving up the content standards on this channel. Let me know suggestions, let me know what I need to improve on, and yeah, like this video for me and just let me know what you think. Thank you guys, have a good one.